Owning a small business can be overwhelming. How can your business stand out and connect with customers? Easy. Get Constant Contact. There's so many places to reach customers. Email, text messages, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, live events, the list goes on. How are you, as the business owner, expected to own all of those channels? That's where Constant Contact comes in to help. With Constant Contact, you'll reach new audiences, grow your customer list, and communicate more effectively to sell more, raise more, and fast-track growth. I use this to grow my email list, and you should too. So get going and start growing your business today with a free trial at ConstantContact.com. Just go to ConstantContact.com right now. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall. ConstantContact.com.
The 1-2 pitch, ball lined to Yount, it's short, he throws, it's over! The Brewers have won the American League pennant! Milwaukee, you have a World Series!
Hit in the air, Yount makes a great catch, and Juan Nieves has thrown the first no-hitter in Milwaukee Brewer history!
Swings, and there it is! A base hit in the right center! He's done it! 3,000 for Robin.
And there's a drive in the left field. This is hit well. And it's gone! Twenty run! A two-run home run! The Brewers take the lead!
Morgan, a smash up the middle, base hit to center. Here comes Gomez, around third. A throw and the Brewers win. The Brewers are moving on a base hit by Nigel Morgan. Here it is. Yelich sends one to right center and deep. Get up, get out of here and gone for Yelich.
You're cruising for Brewsing with me, Andrew Snyder.
And me, Adam McGee.
As we talk all things Milwaukee Brewers for the Eurostep Podcast Network and Blue Wire Podcast. Going to be a lot of sleepless people out in Seattle when they think about the offensive barrage the Milwaukee Brewers just laid upon them in Sunday's getaway day game in a series in which the Brewers won 2 out of 3 games. We'll get into all that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly really only coming on the injury front. Before we get into all that, hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Almost a little bit forced. I feel like I did a title. They didn't play. Did they play the Mariners last year?
They did, and it was when they avoided a sweep. It was sweepless.
Sure, that's it. Which, not to pat myself on the back, but I think it was better than you just breaking out sleepless in Seattle. But listen, I appreciate it. I'm here for anything you want to try and cook up because the Brewers won their series.
Yeah, and cooking is what they're doing. They take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners, and that makes what a 4-2 homestand in their first homestand of the season after splitting with the Twins earlier in the week. Great start to the season. Great start for really all of the NL Central teams. The Pirates are 8-2. They just walked off. The Baltimore Orioles. The Cubs hold a 6-0.
Very funny fashion, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
I saw a caption of something being like unbelievable walk-off here, but I didn't see the funniness of what ensued, so I'll have to take a look at that. The Cubs up 6-0 on the Dodgers in the middle of a rain delay. They're 5-3 going into that game. I think the Cardinals are getting dog-walked by the Marlins right now, so they're going to fall to 5-5. And the Reds lost to the Mets today, which makes them 5-5. But every team in the National League Central, at least 500. Brewers and Pirates leading the way, obviously, with the Cubs probably being just behind them if they ever get back to playing baseball at Wrigley. No roof there, famously. But yeah, a good and fun start to the season, and a weekend that had a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, I guess we should get into some news and notes. Adam, does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, let's do some news and notes.
All right, first of all, we've got an acquisition. The Brewers have claimed Vladimir Gutierrez off of waivers from the Miami Marlins. He's now headed to AAA, so it looks like rotation depth for Nashville. 30 starts with Cincinnati across 2 seasons, 5.44 ERA, 117 strikeouts, 70 walks, and 150 2/3 innings. Made one appearance with the Marlins this season. after being signed over the winter, allowed 3 runs and 4 innings of relief work. So remains to be seen if he'll be rotation depth for Nashville or just another guy that the Brewers want to throw into a bullpen mix and see if they can teach him a sinker or a cutter or something and turn him into some sort of relief weapon. But with the Brewers' track record thus far of just finding guys from the scrap heap and turning them into something valuable, remains to be seen what will happen with him. I'm assuming you don't have too many Vladimir Gutierrez takes at him.
I really have no Vladimir Gutierrez takes. I'm trying to remember what the milestone we were looking at. There's a big one coming up for the Brewers. Is it 1000th Brewer that they're one away from? So whoever the next call up could
It is,
be.
yep.
I feel like Kurt Hogue highlighted that Vladimir Gutierrez seems like a reasonable contender. I think that's definitely something, given the schedule coming up, that could be true. We'll see how some other things pan out. Aaron Ashby has maybe delayed that for the time being in terms of someone new getting that opportunity to be Mr. 1000, I guess, for the Brewers. But yeah, I mean, solid acquisition. I don't really have any issue with that. It is something just, a step above what you tend to see kind of in this time of the year, just after the season started in a situation like the Brewers. But I mean, he is a big league pitcher. That's pretty respectable if they need him, and they may well need him. It doesn't hurt to add another arm like that. So yeah, I'm all on board with it. If it's nothing more than depth for Nashville, that's fine. But I would be pretty surprised if we don't see Vladimir Gutierrez and see him start really in Milwaukee at some point this season.
The Brewers have also added to their catching mix. Obviously, Jefferson Caro went down with that shoulder subluxation a week or so ago. Needed a backup for Eric Haas in Nashville. Francisco Mejia signed to a minor league deal. Mejia most recently had played with the Tampa Bay Rays organization. He's been with the Padres, been with the Guardians over in Cleveland. Career 239, 284, 394 slash line, career OPS plus of 88. Still only 28 years old, but it seemed to fall out of favor as having roles in the major leagues with teams, but obviously close to a major league quality backup catching option. And now you've got two of them in Nashville with Haas, which is not nothing considering the injury to Caro. And then we'll see what happens as Gary Sanchez keeps ramping back up into his role in this team. Threw out a runner, I think, in yesterday's game on Saturday. So that was nice to see from Gary behind the plate as he got his first start behind the plate. Yeah, always nice to have options. Not sure if Mejia will factor into any playing time. I think Haas would be next man up, obviously, in a situation where they needed a backup catcher, but another name added to the mix.
I mean, the Sounds should be really good this year. They've kind of got an interesting roster in terms of a mix of guys who are, been there, done that, major leaguers who may well be called upon again this year, and still a decent number of high quality Brewers prospects funneling through. Be interesting to see how the season progresses in Nashville. I also don't hate that from a development perspective. Like when you've got, often have some sub vets in around your AAA team in that regard, but these aren't necessarily like finished guys. They again could well have an opportunity to help the Brewers out this season. And I think for developing good habits and kind of also kind of making sure you've got real competition inbuilt and it's not just, well, you're the best prospect, so you're going to get the next opportunity guaranteed. There's no harm in that either. So yeah, I
Yeah,
like it.
that's
I mean, it would be better if this didn't come about because it's the Jefferson Caro injury, but all things considered, it's a good response to it.
Yeah, and you make a good point there because I often wonder about, especially when it comes to like the Carlos Rodriguez's and the Jacob Mizorowski's of the world when he gets to Nashville, like, is there some just, incremental added value from working with catchers that have been around the big leagues and have seen some really good starting rotations and know how elite pitchers work? I mean, Mejia being in Tampa the last few years with the likes of Tyler Glass now, Shane McClanahan and some of the pitching development they have there. So kind of a thing that just crossed my mind when I thought of having just so much of a veteran uh, um, tandem getting at bats and catching innings for Nashville. Uh, that brings us to somber news, Adam, because not somber. It's not too bad. It's precautionary. Jacob Junis is headed to the 15-day IL with right shoulder impingement. Pat Murphy described his shoulder as being scratchy. Pat Murphy, always colorful with language and how he describes things, how he nicknames people, and we've loved the Murph experience thus far. So the move is retroactive to April 3rd. Corresponding move is Aaron Ashby being recalled from Nashville to take his spot in the rotation. So he will start today, Monday, as you were listening to this, in Cincinnati. And obviously, Ashby missed all of last season following that shoulder surgery. I think it's today or tomorrow was 1 year to the date of that surgery, Sophia was saying on the broadcast today. So big kind of milestone in Ashby's career as he looks to set a new normal in what he is as a pitcher after his injury. I think that's the way he described it. He did get a start for Nashville this year, allowed 3 runs, 5+ innings, 77 pitches, pitched into the 6th. And Adam McCalvy noted that he bounced back well from the start and threw a side session on Thursday. So Ashby expected to get the start against the Reds. Great to see him back. What will it look like? We don't know, but I mean, we gotta see what it is. And obviously, with the bone spurs with Robert Gasser pushing his MLB debut back probably a few weeks or so, this gives the Brewers a chance to get a look at Ashby back on a big league mound and see if this is a role he can step into.
Keynote on Jacob Junis is the MRI came back clean. So it certainly isn't somber news. It really is very much precautionary, and he just feels like, let's a couple of weeks sit this out and all will be good, and he can pick it up from there. On Ashby, also coming by way of the Bally Sports Wisconsin broadcast, Matt Arnold says he can probably go 90 pitches if all goes well in his start. God, we would love things to go so well that the Brewers are keeping Ashby in around the 90 pitch mark. We'll see. Look, we talked about this and we weren't necessarily sure of parts of it. The Brewers' plan from quite a way out, and it's the reason why Ashby was extended, was he was their next starter. He was the next guy coming through in the pipeline. We know what his stuff is like, and it wasn't all smooth sailing in the pretty small sample size, it must be said, before injury struck. I'm not entirely sure. I think he could be a really outstanding kind of multiple innings reliever still. But look, if at the moment that can be that he's going to give you 4 to 5 good innings, and when Junis is down, okay, in a long stretch with a lot of games, we'll take that. The key thing, whether he ends up being a starter, whether he ends up being in the bullpen, let's hope he looks good, and let's hope we can get a run of him kind of pitching consistently and get healthy, because I think the pitching staff will really need all it can get this year. And I mean that both in terms of arms, but also in terms of the quality that those arms have. And Ashby is right up there with the best stuff on staff. So let's hope we get a good Aaron Ashby outing, and the Brewers can then build on that from there, because that would be very exciting and could be the kind of thing that really, I don't know, swings exactly how high the Brewers ceiling is this year. Like if Aaron Ashby comes back, is healthy and is pitching towards his very best and settled in as a starter, I do think that is very different than some of the other guys we're kind of currently budgeting to be starters this season. So we'll see. It's definitely one of the more intriguing or early wrinkles of the season is seeing how Ashby's going to look.
And if you get a handful of Ashby starts while Junis is out and they move to the 6-man rotation, which is what it looks like they're going to do, more on that in a moment, you figure out, is he a starter? I mean, obviously, a handful of starts is a small sample size, but if you get to the point in the middle of this journey and you decide, okay, he's a reliever, then okay, Aaron Ashby, multi-inning reliever or whatever it may be, can become the new future for him. But there's no way to figure it out without seeing it. Other left-handed starting pitcher news: Wade Miley pitched to rehab start on Friday for Nashville. Struck out 3, allowed a run on 2 hits and 2 walks. 55 pitches, 30 strikes. Per the broadcast today, tentatively, it looks like he could be an option to take the mound on Wednesday in Cincinnati. Probably not stretched out to where he could give a full starter's workload that we would expect Wade Miley to give. But hey, Adam, that's the name of the game early in this season. Outgetters for as many innings as you can go, and then on to the next guy. So obviously, we're the 3 days into a stretch of 13 games in 13 days. So positive news on Miley, and the big thing with him is just can he hold it together, or at the very least, when he has these blips on the radar in terms of injuries, hopefully they're short stays rather than long stays. As many innings as Wade is able to give them over the course of the season, they'll take. But for now, at least things are trending positively, even if we approach things with more cautious optimism.
They need Wade to be good. I mean, for ultimately what we would like to think they can achieve, they need him to be good. And I think it's as simple as that. If he's not going to be healthy, or if it's kind of got away from him somewhat, it will really kind of necessitate someone else stepping up. And that could be an Ashby, that could be a Robert Gasser when he's healthy, that could be someone like DL Hall kicking on. It's kind of some similarities between DL Hall and Aaron Ashby, by the way, isn't there, in terms of profile, in terms of trying to work out? Like, the Brewers are able to see Hall as a starter, and we'll talk some more about him. You can see the vision for that. You can also see probably what some of the potential limitations or concerns would be with that. I see some elements of the kind of Ashby situation in that too. But for Miley, 100%. They need him healthy. They'll need him healthy later in the season when hopefully it's really going to matter. But you need him to look good. So I'd say also, like, take all the care in the world. It was what, 50 something pitches in his last outing in Nashville. If you get 4 good innings from Wade and everyone's kind of comfortable with that, I know that's not ideal for the bullpen in a stretch like that, but I don't think the Brewers will be pushing him, and I don't think they should. He's really too important.
Yeah, last year a few times, probably by his insistence, he pushed back to get back on the mound probably before he was fully recovered from something, and that often led to a return trip to the IL after a bit. But hopefully it turns out differently this time, because the Brewers need innings, and they need them from Wade Miley, especially as we wait out, seeing if guys like Gasser and then Carlos Rodriguez and maybe Mizorowski towards the later half of the season can be some of those outgetters. But for right now, they need the veteran that they signed and brought back because of obviously his importance in the clubhouse. He's also very important on the mound. And we'll get our first look at him probably at Great American Ballpark, which is basically a little league park that serves terrible chili. I think that was all the updates we have. Should we move on to the game recaps here? Is there anything else that we forgot to cover?
If there is, I've forgotten it too, so I can't help you on that front.
Well, in our advanced age, this is the kind of thing that's just going to happen to us from time to time if we forget a thing or two. Brewers welcome the Seattle Mariners to town for a 3-game set. Mariners have a particularly scary starting rotation, and that's especially would rear its head in Game 2. The Brewers did not have to face George Kirby in this one, at least. First game of this series on a Friday night, Freddie Peralta on the mound for the Brewers, facing off against Logan Gilbert. Brewers get the scoring started in the second. Willie Adames homers to the opposite field, 363 feet, makes it 1-0. In the second, with Sal Frelick on base, a Joey Ortiz opposite field double makes it 2-0. Oliver Dunn then steps to the plate in the fourth. First homer of his big league career to right center field. Freddie Peralta to that point was cooking, would lose it a little bit in the sixth. We'll get to that in a minute. Thing I want to talk about here is Oliver Dunn, a guy who, much like Joey Wiemer last year, when Luis Arias went down, Dunn was forced onto this roster maybe earlier than expected due to Garrett Mitchell's injury. And so far, Dunn has proven to be a cog in this lineup, getting a handful of starts at third base, a handful of starts at DH, and someone that Pat Murphy clearly trusts against right-handed pitchers. And so far, he's rewarded them with good defense, showing off a much stronger throwing arm than the podcast I listened to when he was acquired suggestion, and just barreling up the ball, having good at bats, and then obviously hits the homer there, the first of his career, and big moment for a guy who's kind of taken an arduous journey to the big leagues.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Pickleball is hot, which is why I flew across the globe to sign its next superstar. Nice one, Kristoff. He's got dinks for days, and I get points on points on points traveling with my Amex Business Platinum card. Exquisite form.
Earn 5 times points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com with an Amex Business Platinum card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Yeah, I guess like that's part of the difference between him and Weimer. Dunn is 26. Like it really is a now or never situation, and there's undoubtedly been frustration for him that it's taken that long to get his opportunity. He's grabbing it with both hands. He's really producing some good stuff with the bat. As you mentioned, the arm looks great. It's funny, like we've had these kind of question marks over third base in so many ways, and right up until the start of the season, we're like, will they go this way? Will they go that way? Is it just kind of, keeping a spot warm for a Tyler Black or a Brock Wilken kind of further down the line? And between Dunn and Ortiz, they're doing a really stellar job early in the season. And at the moment, I'm not seeing anything that's kind of indicating to me that's a fluke or that's going to be a short-lived thing. So that's very, very exciting. It just feels like the Brewers infield, where at times it was kind of patched together, certainly when it came to depth in the past couple of years, is very far from that now. It's got real depth, and they've got guys who are contributing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think defensively, they've all been really impressive. Willie Adames, we know what he is. Bryce Terang, obviously, we know what he is, but Dunn making great plays defensively, and then Jake Bauers at first base. Over the course of the early season, he had one ball that he didn't pick in, I think, the opening series against the Mets, and other than that, he's looked excellent. So I think cool to see guys early in the season kind of take opportunity and run with it. And I think obviously early in the season, all the time when guys are producing, we're talking about them glowingly, but this has a little bit more of an added air of excitement than like last year when we were getting excited about Brian Anderson performing really well early, because Brian Anderson's a guy on the last legs of his career, whereas Oliver Dunn's a guy like taking the first steps of his big league career, obviously at a more advanced age than when their other young players are debuting. But nevertheless, like, but, I mean, there's reason.
Andrew, that puts him closer to his prime too. Like when he settles and he's playing well, it's like maybe that works out in some regards, given the prospects are coming. If he hits the ground running and has a really good season this year, has a great season next year, and then you're in a point where you're like, look, well, we've got better options. I mean, well, that's fine, but I think you're going to get much closer to a fully formed version of him than some other prospects who may be, maybe on the fringes, or maybe that's unfair. Maybe he can prove to be something important longer term for the Brewers than that.
Yeah, maybe he's the guy at a position, or if he's not, when it normalizes, he's a really solid role player that the Brewers can count on for not just this season, but years to come. It's not just a retread showing a flash in the pan. It's a guy that you can dream on, and that really goes to show you kind of the advanced view that the Brewers scouting and front office had when they sought to acquire him in the offseason. Freddie Peralta, like we said, was really cooking for a while. Striking batters out, missing bats, inducing soft contact, and getting out of innings and getting out of trouble. That would go away in the sixth. J.P. Crawford leads off with a single. He then hit a batter after a Jorge Polanco pop up to shortstop. Mitch Haniger singles to score J.P. Crawford. That makes it 3-1 Brewers. Haniger advances to second on a wild pitch by Peralta. Mitch Garver's sacrifice fly makes it 3-2 Brewers, and then a Cal Raleigh single to left ties the game up at 3. Brian Hudson comes on for Peralta, hits Dylan Moore with a pitch, and then gets a ground out to end the inning. But yeah, a thing we have said about Freddie a lot, and then Corbin a lot last season, is he had it until he didn't, and sort of lost that command in the sixth, allowed the Mariners to get back in this game. But like when he's on, he's on. He just really just couldn't finish the job there, but the Brewers would bail him out.
I mean, look, overall, it's easy given the way this game ultimately will pan out, but there's not a lot to get too stressed out there. I think overall Freddie looked great and has looked great to start the season. There's something there to work on for sure, and it's just that kind of that final kick. And when the finish line is in sight, it's something that can be an issue for him. I think he'll continue to get better at that as more and more length is expected out of his arm, really. And this is a place that we would have been even more forgiving, I think, in recent years when he's, the third guy in the rotation behind Corbin and Woody. As things kick on, it'll be like, no, Freddie, you need to close that down and go 6 scoreless when you get to that kind of spot where he was in here. Not give 3 runs up in the sixth and need someone else to come in and finish that for you. But I think overall, early in the season, with him positioned as the ace in this rotation, I'm very happy with what we saw from Freddie in this game, and I think he's well positioned to kick on. It's maybe just, a slight reminder that not everything is perfect, and he's got to kind of keep his wits about him. He's got to really, really be locked in, true till the moment he gets out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the bright spots, at least, because I was dreading the big blow home run that you would come to expect from Freddie when things are going really awry, is that he's walking guys, putting guys on base, maybe hits the guy, and then a big hammer blow home run to put the Mariners in the lead. Didn't happen thanks to Brian Hudson coming in and bailing things out. The Brewers would get the lead right back, though, and make it 4-3 in the sixth inning. Christian Yelich just absolutely crushes a ball to right field, 431 feet. Pulled it for any of the home run truthers on Twitter. Christian Yelich pulled a baseball nearly into the sun and was just an absolute moonshot. And it's just a reminder that for the better part of the last year, Christian Yelich has been back to being Christian Yelich that can do damage. And obviously there was some concern today, I think, on the pregame show today. Sophia or someone reported that Murph had said that he was dealing with a little neck soreness today, so he got the off day on Sunday. Obviously, Yelich, another guy who, if you can give him a planned off day and you've got the kids to throw out into the outfield, you do it. But that homer looked like you were watching a highlight from MVP season, Yelich.
Yeah, I think as Brian Anderson put it in commentary, it was in Prince Fielder territory.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely crushed. And that's certainly kind of, flashing green lights as, all systems are go for Yelly this season. I'm not too concerned with the neck. I mean, back, neck, this is Yelly, and I think the Brewers did a great job last season of managing that and finding those opportunities. I think he will. He'll get plenty of DH opportunity. It's not necessarily the most ideal thing with the way the Brewers roster is constructed, but hey, if Christian Yelich is gonna be the guy he's been so far this season, there's not going to be many things more important than making sure you're managing his time, keeping him healthy in the best possible way. So I do expect to see quite a lot of that. 3 home runs in 7 games. Let's not take that for granted at all. That is unbelievably exciting to see Ellie come out of the gates like that to start the season. And Yeah, let's see him get back out. Let's see him get another homer or two in the series against the Reds and keep that going. Because you feel like if he could race out to a really hot pace, it just flips everything entirely. And we move, as you said, we move past any kind of is he back, isn't he back conversation, and he gets to kind of go and chase a certain standing in all of baseball over the rest of the season. I think that'll be a nice place to be. That's where you can get it back to him feeling like a superstar as much as anything is. Let's keep this fast start going and then kind of be someone who is amongst the benchmarks all around baseball. We know he's capable of it.
When are they in Pittsburgh? I want to see a ball in the Allegheny again.
I was only thinking that when I was watching back that bomb earlier. That's something he could do. They're not in Pittsburgh for quite a while.
That's good. Let's wait for them to cool off, do what they did last year.
You know what? They're not in Pittsburgh in the first half at all. The Pirates come to AmFam twice.
Brian Hudson throws a scoreless top of the seventh. Another one of the great stories of the early part of the season is his continued excellence. Elvis Peguero tosses a scoreless eighth. In the bottom of the eighth, the Brewers get another run after a William Contreras single and Willie Adames single to put runners on first and second with 2 outs. At that point, Oliver Dunn would reach on an infield single that scored Contreras. Dunn swipes second, but then Rhys Hoskins flies out to center. In the eighth, Abner Uribe on to close things out. After Dylan Moore singled to center, Taylor follows with a single of his own to put runners on the corners. Luis Arias, old friend, hits a ground rule double to score. Dylan Moore makes it 5-4. After J.P. Crawford ground out, Julio Rodriguez grounds out to the shortstop to score. Taylor makes it 5-5. Jorge Polanco intentionally walked, and then Mitch Haniger flies out to center. 5-5. Abner Uribe blows the save. Tough outing for him. One of those things that you come to expect from a young pitcher thrust in this role. He'd been so good up until this point, and blip on the radar, learning experience, and something that he's got to come back from because that's how it works.
First things first, let me correct myself. The Brewers are in Pittsburgh in 2 weeks, Andrew. So that's pretty
booking
soon.
my flights now.
They're also there. This may be better for your schedule, the second last series of the season. So
that might be better, yeah.
Maybe give that some thought instead. Yeah, for Abner, it was tough. I do think he's gonna have games like that. I don't think he is going to be the type of pitcher where everything is going to be locked down all the time. I think that's going to be part of the excitement of it. I think he'll go on long streaks where when everything is good, everything is great. That's not unusual though, even for the best closers. Like we've seen Devin have games like that. It can happen. I do also think it's been a problem kind of more widely. There's been some heavy usage with the Brewers bullpen. I think it's nice that they got out of that game, that he wasn't used the following day. He wasn't required in the final game of the series. And you know what? There's no harm if you could get another day or two. That can be good. Because just whether it's Uribe, Payamps, I mean, Peguero has been absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, you don't want these guys who are thought of as really the high leverage, the best of the best in terms of the Brewers bullpen, being worked quite as much maybe as they were early on. And Trevor McGill's injury, or his concussion, I should say, has also really kind of factored into that too. So look, disappointing. You always want to see Abner go out there and just showcase the best of himself because it's absolutely electrifying. There aren't many more relievers who are more fun to watch than Abner Uribe in full flight. But it could end worse than, this particular bad Abner outing did.
Yeah, about the bullpen usage, it's like we said last episode, and you have to use guys like down your bullpen. And I think Murph said the exact same thing basically to himself and to the media after one of the games. I think it was after the last Twins game that, we've got guys down there. We've got to use them and not just burn out our A bullpen, so to speak. But the Brewers would win this baseball game because Andres Munoz had it even less than Uribe did. Sal Frelick draws a leadoff walk. Jake Bauers pinch hits for Joey Ortiz, draws a walk of his own. Bryce Terang walks. Jackson Chourio to the plate with the bases loaded. Thought he was going to do it at him. Thought he was going to hit an epic walk-off something, single, sac fly, homer, double, who knows. But he strikes out, and then William Contreras draws the game-winning walk. Brewers win 6-5. Contreras with a nice little bat toss after the walk. And, blown save, but the Brewers bounce back in the ninth thanks to the erratic pitching of Andres Munoz. On to game 2. Excuse me. And the beginning of this game really was about how nasty Bryce Miller was for the Mariners, because he absolutely shut down this Brewers lineup. DL Hall on the mound for the Brewers. Allowed a lot of soft contact, so the missing his location in the zone was still an issue, as he was not really missing bats. He did have 5 strikeouts, so I guess he was to a degree, but still just allowing a lot of contact there as well. And that's a third inning of some of the flukiest contact would be his undoing for this outing, though he would pitch into the 6th. Tyler Korth had a tweet summing it up nicely for the Mariners in the 3rd against DL Hall. Bunt single, pass ball, bloop single, soft single, scores a run. 6-4 ground out, scores a run. Ground ball up the middle, single off of a glove of a diving Oliver Dunn, run scores. 6-4-3 inning ending double play. So the Mariners get all the 3 runs they would get off of Hall in that 3rd inning. The Julio Rodriguez single to center, the Jorge Polanco fielder's choice, and then the Mitch Garver single makes it 3-0 in the 3rd. DL Hall goes 5 1/3, 8 hits, 3 runs. They were all earned, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, up to 90 pitches into the 6th inning. Still not the outing you want to see from him, but I would say a sign of progress after the first outing in New York, where he only went 4. I think this is something to build off of. There we go. That's the phrase I was looking for. I just continue to work in progress. Again, a guy like you say about Aaron Ashby is a lot of people think, oh, this guy's a reliever. So a lot of what this early season work is finding out what DL Hall is on this Brewers roster. And then if you get through 15 or so starts, or probably I'd say a whole season of starts for a guy like DL Hall, and you go into next season and you say, okay, he's our new back end guy behind Uribe in the 8th or something, then you come to that conclusion at the end. It's really still working out the kinks, I would say, but better than the first outing.
Yeah, and let's take it at the most basic level possible in that regard. We're talking about him potentially being a starter and seeing through a season where hopefully he's a productive starter. Getting into the 6th inning and throwing 90 pitches, that is real progress. Like, it's you want to be a starter, that's kind of the very basics of what you're going to have to get to. So him seeing the 6th, getting 90 pitches in, and would it have been nice if, he hadn't given up 3 runs? Sure, you talk through just the absolutely brutal luck he had. But at the same time, 3 runs, you're giving yourself a chance to be in the game, to win the game. There's gonna be a lot of games from many guys in this rotation this year where the Brewers will be very, very happy if you're getting 5 1/3 with 90 pitches and only 3 earned runs. Like, that's giving yourself a shot, and I think the offense is showing early in the season. Like, you give them a shot, they'll be able to go and give it their best shot, and we'll see where that kind of brings you. It's not always going to work out, as was the case on this occasion. But if Dale Hall's if his starts is bad or even average starts are like this, you'll live with that and you'll get the opportunity to keep going, to keep pitching, to keep working through it, and hopefully have much, much better starts that give us real cause for optimism in the opposite direction. So, yeah, absolutely, we would have liked better, but I think it is progress. I think it's a good start building on what was a much tougher first outing, and let's hope, okay, maybe 3rd time around we can see him go 6 innings and give up 1 run or something like that, and then there's a real kind of there's real foundations that he set to go and kick on this season.
When Sweet Tarts dared to combine sweet and tart, they thought, why stop there? Why not create other exciting and unexpected combinations, like rainbows and ropes, or fruity and gummy, or chewy and more chewy? That's why they created fun treats like Sweet Tarts Twisted Rainbow Ropes, Gummies Fruity Splits, and Chewy Fusions. When you dare to combine, it's sure to blow your mind. Sweet Tarts, dare to combine. Visit sweettartscandy.com to shop now.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Go to Blinds.com for up to 45% off. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Yeah, I was on Baseball Savant trying to find his average fastball velocity in this start. I know it's 92.4 across the first two starts. I anecdotally, watching on a laptop screen, I thought I was seeing more 94s than I was the previous start in New York on the in-game video board. Again, something to see, like, when he's fully stretched out, where is he living with that fastball velocity, because that was deemed to be a pretty elite pitch by a lot of publications, and when he was out of the bullpen, what it looked like as a starter. We'll continue to watch that. Moving on in this game, the Brewers would actually kind of claw back and make it a game, but not before the Mariners would get another run in the 8th inning. Hobie Milner on the mound, and Jorge Polanco would hit a homer to right center field. I think his first as a Mariner, to make it 4-0. Hobie, another guy who has been relied on a lot over the last 2 seasons, and a guy who has had a tough start to the season because, like we said, Adam, he's been asked to be a fireman so many times and put out fires when really, like, can we get him a scenario where he can just get a cat out of a tree? But tough start to the year for Hobie.
It would have been great if you hadn't brought him in. I hadn't gone wrong in this case. Hobie's a guy you would have loved to give the 9th to in the 3rd game of the series, for example, when, like, stakes are all the way down, and be like, here you go, no pressure, just go, settle in, feel good, put up a scoreless inning, and let's go from there. Maybe another opportunity will come for something like that soon. Probably unlikely given the intensity of the Brewers' schedule, but that's the kind of spot I would have liked to get Hobie into. As opposed to, oh, this game is alive again. Now we're going to you, Hobie Milner. Don't mess it up, so we have a chance to win.
And I misspoke. The Polanco homer was off of Bryce Wilson in the 8th, another guy who was relied on a lot last season that has had to pitch a lot this season, and it has not gone well for him. That made it 4-0. So Polanco off of
that was a much better Bryce outing, though. It is just worth noting.
Yeah.
The homer was unfortunate, but look, with these kind of guys who the Brewers rely on quite a lot, and we want to see them look like what we would consider to be themselves from last year. That was closer to it than Bryce. Just gets caught out that one time, and it's costly, but better, and let's hope it keeps trending that way.
Yeah, 4 strikeouts across the 2 innings that Bryce Wilson worked, and did allow that homer to Polanco, but yeah, an outing that looks much better in a game like today where you score 12 runs and you're just asking guys to pick up the pieces, rather than a game where Bryce Miller's gone out and dominated the Brewers. And I will talk about Bryce Miller now because he was excellent. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts, just 78 pitches through the 7 innings. And really seemed like the splitter was the pitch that was giving the Brewers a lot of issues, getting swings and misses on that. So while I say I would have liked more for the Brewers offense to do something to help DL Hall, Bryce Wilson, and Hobie Milner, I think it was really just Bryce Miller had his A game. In the 8th,
great.
Yeah, in the 8th, the Brewers would get some runs back with Bryce Strang on base. Jackson Chorio hits his 2nd homer of his career to left center field to make it 4-2. Rhys Hoskins up with the bases loaded, just misses putting a charge into one that might have broken the game in the Brewers' favor, ends up being a sacrifice fly to make it 4-3. Then after the Mariners get out of the inning in the 9th with Hobie Milner on the mound, Luis Arias homers to left center. Old Fred absolutely tormenting the Brewers this weekend. Makes it 5-3, and the Brewers are unable to get anything going in the ninth as Andres Munoz comes in and redeems himself maybe from the night before and gets the save.
It wasn't very long ago that I would have been quite surprised if you'd said to me, "Oh, Weicho is going to be tormenting the Brewers again." So I guess credit to him, but let's not do too much more of that. Weicho, if you're gonna stick around and be a productive major leaguer, at least save it for when you're not playing against the Brewers.
Yeah, I know he's still friendly with a lot of guys on the team, especially Willie Adames. Obviously, they had a bromance, much like you and I have, Adam. So sad to see him do that to his old friend. But the game is the game. Any ill feelings we could have about Saturday quickly erased by a big Sunday, a Colin Ray day, Adam, which is one of everyone's favorite days of the week, especially when he's looking as good as he did today. It looked like this could be a pretty wild game early. Jorge Polanco singles after Julio Rodriguez had scored base or reached base in the first inning and scores him to make it 1-0 Mariners. In the first, the Brewers fight right back. Sort of bloop single that the right fielder Luke Raley was unable to handle by Jake Bowers. Scores Oliver Dunn, who had reached on an infield single, makes it 1-1. Sal Frelick in a 2-strike count then with 2 runners on, fights off a pitch to the left field, a double down, kind of down the line there. Really, I'm going to go old baseball man voice right here and go nice piece of hitting by Sal to take a ball kind of up in the zone and just slice it into left field for the double and score 2 runs. Sal obviously has had a tough start to the season, had made an error in the first inning in left field that had helped Rodriguez be in scoring position when Polanco hit that base knock. And Sal redeems himself immediately by putting 2 runners in, making it 3-1. In the second, Josh Rojas with single to score. Dylan Moore makes it 3-2. Then in the second, the Brewers would start what would be a barrage in both the second, fourth, and eighth inning. With Bryce Terang on base after he reached and a Blake Perkins single put 2 runners on. Oliver Dunn grounds out the second to make it 4-2. William Contreras steps up to the plate, crushes a homer to left field, scoring himself, and Perkins makes it 6-2. Really just a great day and series for William Contreras. In the fourth, he would hit what is in the scorebook as a single to right field, which was a ball that hit the top of the wall and just missed being a homer. Contreras was thrown out at second, thinking they had homered, but he did not. It scored Oliver Dunn, who would reach base again. That made it 7-2. And then Willie Adames follows that, picking up his guy by hitting a solo homer of his own, makes it 8-2. With the bases loaded, Jackson Chorio draws a walk to score Jake Bowers, who would reach base again. Sal Frelick the second, Hoskins the third. It's 9-2 at that point. And then Bryce Terang ground out to second, scores Rhys Hoskins, makes it 10-2. Just a merry-go-round of runners reaching base and scoring in that fourth inning. We've been waiting for sequencing luck to be in the Brewers' favor. We've been waiting for the offense to really explode this season because we know we got players capable of doing it, and today was the day.
It sure was. It was a lot of fun to watch. I want to again, I think I did this in the last pod, but I want to just, I'll keep doing this every episode if it keeps being something that's earned. I want to take the moment you mentioned Bryce Terang and his contribution a minute ago to just shout out Bryce Terang, who I've been so impressed by, and it just feels night and day in terms of the player we're seeing early this season compared to what we saw last year. 25 at bats this year. He's reached base 12 times. He has stolen 7 bases, which is the high mark in the National League. Incredible. Like if he can be productive, continue like that, that's one of those things that will. I talked about earlier, the Brewers infield looking solid. Like that completely changes the complexion of it. If Bryce Terang isn't someone that you're like, oh, this guy's actually a liability. If he becomes someone who's a solid hitter, who has improved plate discipline, and that, once he gets on base, he's going to be one of the biggest threats in baseball to steal. Add all of that to his elite defense, and that's quite a player. So that seemed really, really exciting. I have to say, one of the things that look, it's not as flashy. It's not Yelly leading the Brewers and homers early in the season. It's not Jackson Churio hitting like a big leaguer without any kind of hesitation. But it's been one of the things I've enjoyed most early in the season is seeing Bryce Terang playing well. And I think it could be something that, if it proves sustainable, is really, really significant and probably something we shouldn't be overlooking.
Yeah. I also want to note when you talk about Terang's value, obviously on the base paths, that seems to be something the Brewers are emphasizing team wide. Jake Bauer stole a base today. Oliver Dunn stole two. I don't have the updated leaderboard for the entire league right now, as games still have to finish today. But the Brewers have made a choice that they're going to get out there and run. They're going to take advantage of the disengagement rules, obviously, and the pressure that puts on pitchers controlling the running game. And so far, they've done it to great success. Bryce Terang is definitely the leader in that category. And like you said, while we wait to see what is sustainable about this, we've said all offseason, can he find some level of consistency offensively where he's not a minus, where he's league average slightly above? Obviously, he's been great thus far this season, but if he's getting enough singles and drawing enough walks that he can put his speed into play as well, maybe the lack of power isn't an issue, and the glove makes him a player that is really valuable to this team. Like we said, long way to go, but it has been one of my favorite things to watch in this season as well. Obviously, Bryce Terang won my heart on opening day 2023. So would love to see that Agent Zero jersey just continue to rocket in value as I wear it around AmFam.
At our time of recording, the Brewers are one stolen base off what is the lead in all baseball at the moment. The Cincinnati Reds are one of two teams ahead of them on 14 stolen bases.
So it's going to be a track meet this week.
Sure is. That's going to be a really, really exciting series to watch.
Colin Ray, another guy we'll shout out here, 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs allowed. One of them was earned. No walks, 3 strikeouts, 81 pitches. Thought he could have gone out to the 7th, but Thiago Vieira relieved him and finished the game with 3 innings of his own. 1 hit, 2 runs. They were both earned on a homer in the 9th, but 5 strikeouts, a great outing for Vieira, other than the
save,
the blip on the radar in the 9th. Yes, the 3-inning save rule that BA and Rock kept talking about. Is it the best rule, Rock said, or BA said? I can't remember. It was like, I don't know, but it is one, so he gets a save.
I actually don't hate that. It kind of just feels like it should be its own thing entirely rather than a save. But I think there is, even in a blowout, there is value, and there probably should be some recognition for guys who go out there and can give you innings like that. I don't really know of another way you can do that, another way you can recognize it really outside of a save. So I guess that's how you reach that. It is a weird one, but I don't hate it. Like, I think it's nice. Thiago Vieira pitched really well. One moment that he'd like to have back. But it's nice that he has something to show for that.
After the barrage of runs in the 4th, there was a quiet period where both the Mariners relievers and Colin Ray and Thiago Vieira kind of shut down both offenses. And then in the 8th, Josh Rojas, a position player, comes on to pitch for the Mariners. And William Contreras said, "This is not a charity. If you are throwing me baseballs on a big league mound, even if they're like slow pitch softball, I'm going to try and hit a homer." So after Joey Ortiz walks, who pinch hit for Oliver Dunn, Murph doing a good job of just getting guys reps and getting them into games when he can. William Contreras crushes a homer to center field. So quite the day for Wild Bill Contreras. Even if it did come off of a beer league softball pitch, 4 for 5, 3 runs, 5 RBI, 2 homers, nearly a third homer on the single that we mentioned earlier. Shout out Josh Rojas. I want to get the baseball savant data on the spin on his lofted. What are we going to call them? Loft balls? Like I can't call it a fastball in good conscience.
He had what looked like a slider in there at one point to me. I don't know. There's some nice pitches for a position player in there. Also, like Bill did as Bill should do. It's like he got to hold aloft his Silver Slugger award from last season before Saturday's game. I feel like that was. And you know what? You want to be Silver Slugger again? Well, no one's gonna remember at the end of the season. No one's gonna care when your final stats are all kind of compiled that one of those came against a position player, you know, 8 games into the season. Someone's going to toss one up there for you. Go and hit it out, particularly if the wall is going to rob you of one on the same day. So, I mean, that's the only unfortunate thing. Just a little bit more on that, and we could have a 3-homer day for Bill.
Yeah, that would have been fun. As we mentioned, Dominic Canzone in the ninth gets 2 back for the Mariners. Homer off Thiago Vieira. But the Brewers still nail down the 12-4 victory and take 2 of 3 from the Mariners, send them back out west with a series loss. And great stuff to see on this great start to the season before locking horns with the division rival in a game between 2 teams that we expect to be in the mix for this NL Central.
For sure.
Shall we hand out some beverages?
No, let's do it.
All right, so I realized today that I forgot to hit send on the Substack, folks. So sorry about last week, but the board is updated, gspn.substack. Subscribe. Jordan's always doing a lot of good stuff in there about the Bucks or the Packers. I think he's even mixed in a Brewers article in there a time or two. Leaderboard through 8 games will be updated after this reading. William Contreras has 2 beers for this series. Willie Adames gets a beer. Bryce Terang gets a beer. Just great defense at second base. Some of those plays that he's making in behind first base or when he's going to the outfield and just snatching a pop-up out of the air after running like 40 feet or whatever it is, just so pleasing to the eye. Great work from Bryce Terang. Oliver Dunn, Jake Bowers gets his first beer as well. Got the 2 hits today. We'll continue to see what Bowers has to offer as he'll get DH at bats and first base at bats. Especially first base at bats if he continues to play great defense and they continue to face a string of right-handed pitching. Bowers will continue to get us opportunity to earn more playing time. Joe Ortiz gets a beer, had that double, a couple of walks. Colin Ray gets a beer. Brian Hudson and Elvis Peguero round out the beers. Leaderboard through 8 games. William Contreras, Christian Yelich, Jackson Chorio, and Bryce Terang and Elvis Peguero have 3. Abner Uribe, Reese Hoskins, Willie Adames, Oliver Dunn, Joey Ortiz, Colin Ray, Brian Hudson with 2. Freddie Peralta, Trevor McGill, Yoel Payamps, and Jake Bowers, each with 1. 8 games played. Brewers are 6-2. And the guys will keep fighting for beverages in Cincinnati. Monday, a 5:40 Central start. Aaron Ashby will take the mound against Graham Ashcraft. Tuesday, 5:40 Central start. Joe Ross will take the mound against Frankie Montas. And then Wednesday, 5:40 Central start, presumably Wade Miley against Hunter Green. Then on Thursday, this 4-game set, 12:10 Central start, Freddie Peralta will take the mound against Nick Martinez. The Brewers then head to Baltimore to finish out the road trip. The way it's got the schedule mapped out right now, none of this is official. It looks like Corbin Burns on a Sunday.
Rock
So
won't
we
be
will
happy.
see how that shakes out. Yeah, Rock didn't want any part of
it. Which was very, very funny. You know what, Andrew? Bring on Corbin Burns. I want to see Corbin Burns.
Yeah, so do I. Save for baseball. Who cares? Let's go.
But it could be an opportunity that he has one of those games that really frustrated us. And it would be nice to be on the other side of that. I feel like, I don't want to see. He doesn't owe the Brewers one. He definitely doesn't. He pitched countless incredible games. But I wouldn't be opposed to a rough Corbin outing. With the Brewers being the benefactors. Let's see what happens.
It's just fun. It's just fun. Like, it's a fun thing that we'd talk about going into the podcast.
Yeah,
and then
it's some
afterwards.
intrigue, right? It's definitely something. I mean, that Orioles series, obviously, because of that trade and because DL Hall will be pitching. We'll see what Joey Ortiz does. Like, you're gonna have that level of kind of added layers of interest throughout the series, but that will obviously be the headline one. So
Joey Ortiz
Let's hope so.
strikes me as a guy that wants to shove it up your ass if you're an organization that traded him. So we'll see if he gets some good run in that series.
He's getting quite a lot of like limited ABs and being productive in that, which I find quite interesting. I guess it's tough. Bryce Rang is playing well, and we talked about Ollie Dunn's obviously delivering as well. So what you do there, I mean, it's some Ollie Dunn DHing, which we've seen some already, could maybe open up some more opportunity for him. It's interesting, but I think Ortiz looks pretty good to me. It looks like he's playing well. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's very much his vibe, and we'll see if he gets some opportunity by next weekend in that series to really go and make a point in Baltimore.
This is nothing I have data on, but I like his and Oliver Dunn's at bats. I feel like they've got a lot of good process there that over a full season of bats would produce a lot of good outcomes for the Brewers.
100%. I mean, you just feel like you need a hit, and one of them comes to the plate that they're very, very capable of delivering. Like that mightn't be newsworthy in some other spots, but it is different to what the Brewers have had in kind of players of that profile coming in and playing third base in particular in recent seasons. So I'm very much enjoying that.
Even the good walks, like a guy like Chourio
Sure.
drawing a bases loaded walk to get a run in rather than trying to do too much. Seems to be a lot of guys with good plate approaches on this team so far.
I'm looking forward to a series with the Reds. Hopefully the Brewers can put down an early marker against one of their division rivals to hear how that series goes, to hear us relive it blow by blow. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Cruising for Brewsing. We'll be recapping that series like we recap every series throughout the season to make sure you're on top of all things Brewers. Cruising for Brewsing. We are the place for you to be subscribed to. Elsewhere at the Eurostep Podcast Network, GSPN, we've got the main feed, the Eurostep Podcast Network, home to 2 Milwaukee Bucks podcasts, the Eurostep with Ty Windish and Rowan Coddy, and Win at 6, myself and Jordan Tresky. The Bucks are sure the basketball team that exists and are doing some stuff, or the playoffs are near. I'm not gonna say you should be listening. That's up to the Bucks to decide. If the Bucks want to get it together, or if you need, people to talk through all things Bucks for you, we can certainly deliver on that front. But let's hope there's a corner turn somehow, some way, very, very soon. And if so, we'll guide you all throughout the postseason. For all things Green Bay Packers, we've got Talking to Tundra with Numac and Jordan Tresky. And for movies and pop culture, for more from Andrew and I, check out Make Time for This. Until next time, thanks again to all of you for listening. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Oliver Dunn.
Hey there! Did you know Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Baker's app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Baker's today. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.